And so I'm glad to be here with you all today, and it's my hope that you will leave this session inspired. And so I'm going to ask you all to work with me for a few minutes, for my couple of minutes. Turn to your neighbor on the left or on the right, right? Look at them good right in the eye, and tell them I was born this way. I was for this season. I was born this way for this season. Come on, we can do it better. For this season, for this day, for this hour, and for this moment. For this moment. Okay. So it's my hope that after the end of this particular discussion, we will be inspired and recognize that we are the army that builds society around the world. And so part of why we brought our staff here today is for them to understand that there's a purposeful set of work that we do in this world that's not happenstantial, right? And it's essential. I often say that in any free market system, you will have economic stratification, right? Somebody will be at the top, somebody will be at the bottom, and people will be in the middle. But everybody deserves an opportunity to move up and down that ladder. And the way that that happens is not by government alone, it's by people like you and I who show up each and every day to ensure that everybody's voices are heard and that systems actually work, right? And so along that pathway, though, we get burned out, we get disenfranchised. And I often say to my team that burnout in our business is not because we work hard. Burnout is because we get disenfranchised. We no longer believe that what we've invested in, we paid a lot of money to go to school for, we've worked for years, that we cannot make those level of changes. But I'm here to tell you none of that changes purpose, right? We still have to show up to the mantle and keep swinging. And so let me ask you, by a show of hands, and this is a moment of introspection for each of us. How many of you in the room, by show of hands, have quit your job, have quit this work, have quit this profession more than once? Only me? Yep. How many of us have gotten to the point where we said, I'm tired, I've done enough, somebody else's turn? Yep, yep, yep. Or I've tried really hard, but it doesn't seem like it's moving. Right? Right? That's the work. But I'm here to assure you today that you are the right people to do the work today. And so many, many years ago, I went through this period of time in my early time in the profession. I remember sitting on a set of cans of paint at my mother's house, and I'm crying, just crying as if somebody had beat me. And I'm crying, just crying, weeping. And normally I would control myself because I want to control my feeling. And I decided this day that I was going to let myself see what it's about. And so as I went through the psychological process of examining why I was crying, I realized that I felt like I had tried. I came at the rink working with young people, and I feel like I tried and tried and tried, but I was still looking over caskets for young people. I was going to funerals. You know, my young people weren't necessarily making it out, and I was ready to give up. But then something dropped inside my inner person that helped me to understand my role in the work, and I just want to share with you as a perspective. And I call them the 3 Ps, right? Purpose, preparation, and provision. And I think that this is true not just for me, but for everybody in the sector, right? And so, purpose. I will say to you and say to every person in the helping professions, we were born to do this work. If you ever get that feeling like I want to quit, I want to go, but I can't seem to get away from it, like it's like craziness. I work 40 hours a week and 40 on top of the 40, and I want to leave, but I can't seem to leave my client, I can't seem to leave the person, I can't seem to leave the agency, and I'm sure not leaving the big salary, right? It's the purpose inside of you that's talking, right? Each of us are appointed to purpose. And so as I say to my teams at home, somebody in this society along the pathway is looking for you, right? Think about it. Each and every day while we're skilled, while we're capable, while we're well-educated, we show up to circumstances and situations that we did not create, right? We're moved through this life at moments where we interact and intersect with people. And so the person you bump into on the bench and they say they're homeless, and you say, oh, there's a place where you can get services. Intuitively, you don't think about it. You immediately start to help. It's because it's in your person. You're just born that way, right? And so that feeling that we get that we want to escape, you're not going to escape. Settle with it, right? Just settle yourself into it. We are born with purpose. And in that purpose, somebody along this pathway is waiting for us to show up. And in you, in your mind, in your hand, in your heart, you have an answer. You have the answer. And oftentimes, there's nobody else that will be able to change that person's life except for you. But oftentimes, we go from one thing to the next one, not stopping to realize that you're putting somebody's life for a purpose and for a reason. And sometimes that one transaction is enough to change the entire trajectory of a person's life. I want you to think about that for a minute. Not 50 interactions, one. The person is on the brink, on the cliff. You show up that day out of no place. You weren't even intending to be there. But you have the knowledge, the competence, the compassion, and capability to give them just what they need to go a little further. And maybe they go a little further and then somebody else bumps into them, right? But we cannot underestimate the level of purpose for which we were born into. And I'll tell you, I didn't always understand it. I remember being a young boy on a train, may have been about 15 or 16, and I remember reading a New York Times article. A woman had gone underground to be with homeless people for about 2 months. And so she's chronicling the story in the New York Times. And I'm on the train weeping and crying, and I'm thinking, oh God, people are looking at me, and I'm just crying and crying and crying. But I realized that while my every intent was to get a corporate job and make a lot of money, I wasn't aligned with purpose, right? And so there's an amazing story of how I stumbled into settlement houses, but for the last 35 years, this has been my heart and my passion, right? So you will get there, but when you get there, you cannot refuse to accept that this is your lot in life, right? Good, bad, or indifferent, you were born to be who you are. The compassion, the love is inside of us. It's not something that you're taught. It's who you are. It's in your identity. And so that's purpose. And purpose is both two P's, big P and little p. Big P is the big purpose, right? Those save the world people like you and I, that's big P. Then there's little p, right? Little p is purposeful moments, right? It's taking every opportunity when it's not your job, not the thing you're paid to do, and you show up and you continue to put the bricks in society, right? For those of us around, I often imagine that there's a crew of people assigned in society. It's like looking at the flag of your country, right? Some of us are sewing the tattered edges on the outside, and some of us are sewing the frayed middle just to keep society going. But we show up every day, and it's in the sum of the 1,000 transactions we have every day. For every person we meet in our lobbies, that we cross in our neighborhoods, there's a purposeful opportunity there to put more bricks in society. And after all, it's nobody else coming, it's you and I. So regardless of what our governments do, we are the core of society. How we show up and what we do every day is what makes a difference in the lives of the average person who lives in society, right? So being purposeful is critical. And recognizing that this is our lot in life, right? I will never have the same joy and pleasure about selling perfume, right? This is our lot. The second is about preparation. And so particularly for the young people in the room, oftentimes we begrudge preparation, but I'm guaranteeing you that for your purpose, there will be a line of preparation, and we have to pay attention to that. So I often think about times when I worked for a guy one time. This guy was the laziest guy in the universe. He never did his job. I did my job and his job. But in that, I realized that I learned to meet everybody in the city. And if I hadn't been doing his job, I would have never, ever, ever met everybody, which then enabled me to do more purposeful work, right? And so I assure you that as you step into purpose, that preparation will be there, but you have to pay attention, look for it, and never begrudge the hard times, right? So in all of the hard things, I've been an ED for, I think now 24 years. Some of the craziest things that happened early in my career have enabled me to do things now. And I don't even realize how I know it. It just pops out of nowhere. But if I sit down and I sit with it, I realize that I have been given preparation for the purpose. But be careful never to begrudge that preparation, because you will need the lessons later, right? And then the final part is provision. Fret not about what you don't have today. And I've heard all the same stories that we talk about in the U.S. As we were at Coin House and they were talking about the ceiling leaking out, I was getting a text. Oh, we have to close the daycare center because there's a big flood. So we have the same problems in different places. But what I will assure you, in 24 years of being an executive director, the provision will come. If in your purpose you are gifted the vision, the provision will be there. Keep your eyes open and expect it. So never give up, and know that you're not alone in purpose. You're part of an army of people just like you and I, right? And so I will close in my last 30 seconds by saying, you were born for this season and for this purpose. Regardless of what our governments do or they do around us, you and I have a job to do. And it is a life job. Every day we get up, pull up our pants and be strong in that, and be purposeful. And know that for this season and this time, we are it, right? We are the supply of help and support. And so I know we get tired sometimes, but be encouraged to know that you're special in the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I have the honor to introduce Rob. Rob, you want to come on up? Rob Huggins, CEO of Gosforth Civic Theater. Rob, come on up. Rob spent over 20 years working in disability art sector. Come on, Rob, you can get the mic. Having founded Liverpool in 2023 with 8 young people with disabilities, they have created an art center that uses social entrepreneurship and arts to generate social change. Gosforth Civic Theater is a pioneering cultural venue in Newcastle, founded and shaped by a group of young people with disabilities. Rob, the CEO.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, it's a complete honor to share the stage with such amazing human beings. Secondly, this experience reminds me of when I went on a roller coaster once with my dad. I think it might have been my first roller coaster, and I was sat on the carriage, and it was up at the top, and I've turned to my dad, and I've gone, "Yeah, Dad, I'm not sure I want to go on this." And he's turned back to me, and he said, "Robert, it's a bit late for that." So here we go. As Chief Executive of Gosforth Civic Theatre, I've often thought I should start a support group for introverted leaders of charities or social enterprises. I'm quite shy, and I'm definitely quite an anxious person at times. I'm more comfortable loitering outside with the smokers or chatting to the technicians or the front of house team, when I should have been out the front talking to the VIPs. I like to laugh and not take myself too seriously. And sometimes I think this comes across as if I don't care, when quite the opposite is true. I'm fiercely driven by inequality. It's why I started the organization in the first place. And yet I openly acknowledge the irony that without the privileges I've benefited from as a straight, white, university-educated man, I probably wouldn't be in the position I am today. Without the safety net and advantages of that privilege, I'm not sure I would have negotiated the uncertainty of starting a charity. Socially, I'm better one-to-one. I like to have honest and open conversations with others about the challenges we're facing or the successes we've enjoyed. I even sometimes enjoy public speaking. Not today, after spending a long time in the pub last night, but put me in a crowd and ask me to network, and I will run away. There's no mingle. I'm probably not going to talk to you about the weather. My support meeting, which I would call Networkers Anonymous, would start with the declarations. We would stand up. My name is Rob Huggins, and I run a charity in the northeast of England. I have not networked since 2006. We would then go around the circle, listening and supporting each other, and I would take comfort from the fact that I wasn't alone, that imposter syndrome was in fact a thing, and other people were also challenged by aspects of their characters. When it came to my turn to speak, I would say something like, I run a disability arts organisation and I'm quiet. I very rarely go to public demonstrations, and I last burnt out in 2024. My personality has definitely become a part of the culture of the organisation that we run. And at times it feels like it holds us back, but at other times it feels like it's our superpower. Liberdagi is 22 years old this year. And I don't know if any of you will have heard of us. Probably because I was out the back talking to the technicians when I should have been out the front talking to you. Back in 2003, I founded the organisation with a group of 8 amazing young people with learning disabilities. And together, we've grown it into Gosforth Civic Theatre, a flourishing arts centre, events venue, social care provider, and community cafe. We opened the theatre in 2016 to create social change, and we purposefully wanted that to happen quietly. We want people to have the opportunity to passively spend time together and to come to the realization that we share a huge amount in common with not only people with learning disabilities, but anybody. To achieve that, we knew we needed to create a building that people wanted to use and deliver a cultural and events program that people wanted to attend. We call this the association effect. We also use this methodology in the dance and the physical theatre we create. We use humour, popular music, shared experiences to entertain our audience, as well as reflect on the similarities between their own lives and the lives of the actors on the stage or on the screen. This passive approach to social change also played a massive part in our recent £2.5 million redevelopment of the theatre. During the design and the delivery process of that project, we had to fight hard for a high-quality cultural feel when the architects and the contractors wanted to make us a day centre. Our mission is to raise the expectations of what people with learning disabilities can achieve. And what is more aspirational than creating a great cultural venue that the whole community values? I was asked not just to tell you about the organisation I run, and I'm dangerously close to doing just that. So to help me out of a spot, on your way home, I'm asking you to reflect on your own organisation's personality. What is your superpower or your kryptonite? And why does that make you you? When we did just that last year during the development of our new theory of change, we collectively decided that I should grow up, that we should try to raise our profile to help grow our impact. The thinking was that sometimes this quiet nature can foster misunderstandings. Rightly or wrongly, it's natural if you don't know the facts about an organisation that you just fill in the blanks. And I think this happened to us from time to time over the years with Liberdagi and Gosforth Civic Theatre. In 2023, we were not awarded core investment funding from the Arts Council. We had asked for 20% of our running costs, which equated to about 1% of the budget for Newcastle and Gateshead, and we were unsuccessful. We were incredibly well aligned with Let's Create, the Arts Council's 10-year strategy, considering that we were the only public theatre in the country that was founded and continues to be guided by people with learning disabilities, delivering 800 events and activities to more than 50,000 people a year. And I asked myself the question, if we were louder, would we have made a difference? Even though I've learned that you can run a successful charity without being front and centre. I'm also committed to working on myself, to being more present and to proudly represent the organisation more, both regionally and nationally. And that's what's got me in this mess. Appreciate it. But seriously, I don't think it's possible to do our jobs and for our personalities to not shape how we do them. For me, the trick is recognizing how we have turned them into superpowers and how we avoid the kryptonite. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Can we give a round of applause to Naomi Martin as she comes? And we'll give, you go, Naomi. We'll give Naomi another round of applause. She's celebrating 20 years of work at the Commonside Development Trust, yes? And as Naomi says, there's never a dull moment at Commonside Trust. Naomi.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It is a tiny bit terrifying to be up here. I am desperately reminding myself that the Commonside Community Development Trust, the small charity in South London and the community centre that I am privileged to lead, was once on television in Finland and has also been on the radio in Sweden. In the same year. I think one of the reasons that I was given this opportunity is because in my own personal life there has been too much tragedy, and that gives me a certain perspective. I won't give you all the details of that, but I did put the headlines into Google Gemini AI last night, and this is a summary it gave me back. This 62-year-old woman, born in 1963, thank you very much, a lot of detail there, has faced an extraordinary accumulation of highly traumatic and stressful life events, which would likely lead to a range of severe and complex emotional and psychological difficulties. Well, as Elton John said, I'm still standing. Google was also kind enough to point out that I would probably be physically quite clapped out, which I thought was a bit rude, but there you go. I'm here to tell you that being common is a very good thing. And I have a short example about being common, which is that in a recent conversation with community partners about waste and recycling, we were offered two possible tools. One of these was a clothes switch, which is a really nice idea where you look out a couple of your things that you don't wear anymore, you take them along and you swap them with somebody else who's brought the things that they don't wear anymore, and you go home with a whole new look. And it's a really nice little model and it works really well, but we didn't think it would work for the people we live and work with. Lots of reasons for that, we just didn't feel it was a good fit. And the other option we were given was to reinstall the textile recycling bin outside the community centre. To which I said, if you build it, people will come and they'll dump all their crap on our doorstep, and then some cheeky councillor will come round and tell us that it's our responsibility to clear it all up again. And I said that because that had happened in 2020, and I didn't want it to happen again. Now, both of those solutions can work really well, don't get me wrong, but we didn't think it would work for us. What we did think would work for us was a jumble sale. In fact, we already do jumble sales. We said we will do more and more regular jumble sales because people really enjoy them. And I'm sorry if you're not sure what a jumble sale is, but do ask your neighbour when this session is finished. So that's what worked for us, and that was, some people think jumble sales are pretty common. My mother certainly did. But they work, so common is good. I mentioned the cheeky councillor. Not all councillors are cheeky, but I think I do need to say about our elected leaders and decision makers that, and I have to be careful how I say this, some of them, it would seem to me that some of them are behaving as if they didn't have the common sense with which they should have been born. So if that cap fits anywhere in the world, you can wear it. The example I've got of common sense and why sometimes the absence of common sense does make me pretty angry is a recent discussion at a scrutiny panel in South London, where they were discussing possibly one of the biggest transformations and changes to take place in the NHS, which was the rollout of neighbourhood health. And the person who was presenting that at a scrutiny panel, which is by law supposed to analyse, discuss, and take apart the very things that affect the people whose lives the lives of the people who they serve, the person presenting that took his 12 minutes to read out the government guidelines, which everybody had already received. And to me, that lack of common sense, that lack of boldness is, to be polite, a regurgitation of jargon, and to be less polite would be something along the line of a plumbing description, including the word bullcocks. This does matter, because the time and energy that takes stops us from addressing those very health inequality issues that affect every part of this country and need our desperate attention. So it does make me angry. And I will move on to just the last point. I see I've got just under 2 minutes, so this should work. I hope so, fingers crossed, which is common ground. And common ground, to me, means that if I am repeatedly told that we are in an equal partnership, that we're working at something in an equal partnership, then I expect to be able to walk into any meeting and say to myself, I am neither greater than nor less than any other person in this room. The tragedies in my life have made me bolder about this and made me want to encourage others to do the same. I want people to be able to say to themselves, show me the respect and I shall show you mine. Do not pat me on the head. Do not pretend to listen. Do not shut your eyes and ears to what I have to say. And that, to me, my friends, is the very essence and the power of being common. And I would urge you and dare you to try it yourselves. Thank you.
Naomi, thank you. Phenomenal, phenomenal. Next up is Daniel Sukula. Daniel is the founder of Be the Change Youth Project, a community organization empowering young people through leadership, sports, creativity, and mentoring. With lived experience and strong local partnerships, Daniel is dedicated to providing safe spaces, opportunity, and positive pathways for young people to thrive and succeed. Give Daniel a round of applause.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everybody. So my name is Daniel Sukula. I'm the founder and CEO of Be the Change Youth Project, a youth project based at the heart of Bolton. Firstly, I just want to thank you, Locality, for giving me the opportunity to stand in front of you. It means really a lot. Today, I want to speak about the power of community. It's actually been nice to look at the Locality tops at the back, and it says the power of the community. So I want to talk how the power of the community changed my life and how it inspired me to go from fighting deportation as a child to building a multi-award winning youth organization based in Bolton, helping many lives of young people. So this is how my story begins. So I arrived in England in 2002 with my mom and my siblings. We came here to seek safety. We were escaping violence in Kinshasa, the Democratic Republic of Congo. My father had already been forced to flee after being accused of opposing the government. Soon after, the army came to look for him, but my dad was nowhere to be seen. So they brutally attacked my mother, leaving her with permanent and physical and emotional scars. Because of the attack on my mother, we had to leave the country and look for safety. So we found our safety in England and applied for asylum in 2002. We literally made Bolton our home, and we started school, learned a new language, and we made friendships. But in 2005, everything changed for us. We received a letter from the Home Office to say that our asylum claim has been rejected. We were told we had to live under the Section 9 of the Immigration Act. So Section 9 meant everything was taken away from me. Our housing, our support, our income. We were left with nothing. Families in this situation are often pushed into destitution, and children can even be taken away into care. We only survived because of the kindness of the people around us, neighbors, teachers, charities, and the local community. When the Home Office stopped paying for our home, they expected us to be evicted. But guess what? Bolton Council refused. The community refused. They would not let us be deported. So, at just 15 years old, watching my family fall apart, I decided to speak up. I wrote a letter to a journalist in London. So I literally just found it online. I had to do something. So this is how my letter began. My name is Daniel. I'm 15 years old. I'm writing this because me and my family face deportation to Congo. I do not want to go back because there's war there. If I go back, my life will be finished. I wrote about my fears of being forced into war as a child soldier, of being taken away from the only life I knew. I wrote about my dreams to stay in England, to become a football player. That didn't happen, but, and to live in peace. That letter literally changed everything for me. An immigration journalist from the Institute of Relations News, Arun Kundani, was deeply touched by the letter and visited my family. When he visited, I did not tell my parents anything. And when he knocked on the door, there were fear in the house, literally a panic in the house, because before the immigration has arrived. I eventually had no choice but to tell my parents what I did. Soon after, with the support of Arun, the support of the Bolton Socialist Club, the Bolton News, and my school teacher, Mr. Jason Travis, the Sukula Family Must Stay campaign was launched. Hundreds of people marched through the streets of Bolton, shouting, "Sukula family must stay, deportation no way." People of all backgrounds stood with us. No one saw color. No one saw religion. They saw love, unity, and humanity. Because the community stood for us, in 2008, we were finally granted indefinite leave to remain. That moment showed me what communities really means. It showed me what is possible when people come together. The people of Bolton stood for my family, so I made a promise to stand for others. What began as a simple idea, organizing weekly football sessions, has grown into a multi-award winning youth organization in the heart of Bolton. Today, we support hundreds of young people across Bolton through sports, youth club sessions, holiday clubs, mental health campaigns, and knife crime workshops. And not only that, we provide a hot meal so that no young person goes home hungry. And just this past September, we opened our very own center, a permanent home. So a permanent home where we can reach even more young people and create even more change. Why my story matters now? I've told this story many times, but for me, it matters now. Because right now, there are divisions across our country. There are negative stories about immigrants. Flags are going up. Barriers are being built. And neighbors are being turned against each other. Only yesterday, while coming to the award ceremony yesterday, I was just scrolling on my Facebook and I came across an article in the Sun newspaper titled, "Hundreds Fear Dead as Immigrant Boat Sinks." I usually avoid looking at the comment sections, but this time I decided to read the comments. And I was shocked to see the level of negative comments being made. One comment read, absolutely outstanding news, brilliant. And the rest of the comment was, great news. This broke my heart to see how people have become so heartless. But I stand here today to remind us, people like me who came as refugees are not just headlines or statistics. We are humans. We are dreamers, and many of us are giving back to the communities that gave us hope. My story is not just about struggle, it is about what we can achieve together. When the people of Bolton marched, they did not see differences. They saw humanity. They showed that love and unity are stronger than fear and division. I hope my story reminds us all the world becomes a better place when we choose love over hate, unity over division, and community over silence. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Our next speaker, guided by the vision to nurture women's wholeness, Misba founded Evergreen Collective 9 years ago. An international speaker and consultant, her journey has touched thousands across 10 countries and 29 cities. She now leads UK's first Muslim woman-led holistic wellness center, redefining what it means to be truly healed and belong.
Thank you. It's tough going last, to be honest, after all those amazing stories. For me, what I wanted to share was really just a speck of my own personal journey. Just this idea that the compass within is something that we can all try and take from today going forward. So noise is something that I've always known. I come from a family of 8 siblings, parents, to living in a 3-bedroom house. As a young child, noise was all I knew. And within that noise, there were only pockets of quietness that I found. And I don't know whether anyone else did this, but the Argos catalogue was like the most amazing thing. Right, circling what you could potentially get. And I don't know what I was doing with the Yellow Pages and Thomas Cook, but for some reason, I remember that very much in my childhood, finding a quiet corner to just look within and try and block out essentially the noise that was everywhere around me. And as we grow, the noise doesn't really stop. You know, as in we have emails and we have conversations and expectations and pressure, and that noise becomes a distraction. And something that I've definitely found in my journey in setting up Evergreen was that element of distraction and that noise, sometimes it's motivation and sometimes it's blockage. And it's so important for me personally in my journey is to just step back and really think about what it is that I'm actually trying to do. And so as in my guiding force throughout my journey has really been looking back to my intention. What is it that I'm trying to do? And I'm sure this will resonate with many people because we all are trying to do some form of goodness. We've seen that there's a lack, or we've seen that there's something that needs to be done within our community or something within our household, and that's the driving force. But sometimes it's a case that the chaos or the distractions are so much that we kind of forget that, and we kind of forget what it is that we're trying to do. And then those conversations where like those doubts start coming through of like, why do you think that you can do this? Or like, as in, don't you think you're being a little bit delusional? And I've been told many a time that I'm crazy, and I don't know if that's been of a similar accord, but we all go through these elements where we have our cheerleaders and we have those that just don't think that being, you know, and then having some form of hope is actually worth even working towards. And so for me personally, and something that I've seen in my journey with Evergreen and getting it to where it is today, is really being that person that's brave enough to have an intention and then really just keep reminding myself and renewing that intention, because that becomes our north. You know, as in the compass doesn't work if it's being shaped. shooken, or whatever the word is, right? As in, essentially, it has to be still. And each one of us have to just have this element of quietness. And it's easy to say, as in, people are always like, oh, you need a break and go, as in, you need to go on holiday. And holidays seems like a luxury for anyone that's a founder or anyone that's running an organization where everything is on you. For me, that's marketing and HR, and like every single department is essentially your responsibility. And so holidays and retreats seem like a luxury. But that holiday or retreat can actually be something that we can place in our day-to-day life. And for me personally, I'm very much about, I need to set some time out on a daily basis to just think, why am I doing this? What is the purpose? And we talked about purpose earlier, but as in renewing that on a regular basis, because we have to remind ourselves. And so that stillness allows the compass within to really be able to have the energy to continue with what it is that we're trying to continue with. And so when it came to my journey with Evergreen, the crowds around and this idea that we wanted to create a home or space that women felt safe, women felt that they belonged, became something that I had a passion for. And it was through that intention and vocalizing that intention that other women within our community also started feeling that this is something that I would also like to work towards. And so what became crazy at one point, that as in terms of trying to work towards this asset and fundraising towards it, would have been an impossible task if I had allowed those conversations or those doubts to have an impact upon me. But we, in a very short space of time, the women within our community, we saw this hope, we saw this intention, and we started working towards it. We were able to raise £90,000 as a community of women in a matter of weeks. And then when the year passed and we were able to, we were working towards the renovation, we raised 125,000 in a matter of 3 weeks. And that, as in, that was crazy, as in there were people like, this isn't possible, you might as well just forget it. But again, it's going back to sitting with yourself and like removing those distractions and thinking, what is it that I'm actually trying to do, and how can that create the benefit that we're trying to work towards? And essentially, once that energy is focused on the intention and the compass within is like focused upon that, you allow a radiance to become a form of hope for those that are around you, that this no longer feels like a lonesome path, but one that you work together with. And so for me personally, I would say that as in, we've come to this amazing conference where we've heard so many great speeches and so many forms of inspiration, but it's so important for us to have that time outside of this conference to just think, what is my intention? What is it that I'm trying to do? Because we do need that renewal on a regular basis. And it's that intention and that renewal of intention that will allow us to have the energy to continue with what we want to continue with. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our phenomenal presenters. We're going to just switch over to panel, if we might, for all the speakers, if we might join the stage. Thank you. And as the speakers come up, we ask that you go to the app, and you're welcome to put questions in, as you will, for the panelists, and we'll ask them as we go. And so thank you to all of our panelists for brilliant conversation. I think that I couldn't imagine somebody not leaving here today having gotten a full-on therapy session. I think for those of us who are in the work, we know that it gets hard, and I think that we've heard about intention, about purpose, about working harder to be bigger for the organization, about how our relations with government works and what we should expect from partnership. And so maybe anybody can start with this particular question. So as you do the work, what do you think is the most important element that you would like to just synthesize and share with this group in terms of as they leave here to go on to their own respective work? Don't be shy.
I think I've said my version, like as in, like intentions is for me the main thing, the driving force.
So being clear about what you're intending to do.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm probably going to say something a bit un-British here, which is that I know much of my passion comes from some of the anger that I have, and so I think if I'm angry, if you're angry, just own it and do something about it. Thank you.
Fair enough.
I think a couple of things. Absolutely, you know, keep your eyes on the prize, but also recognize that the world is certainly not a perfect place, and it is ever shifting. You know, the environment around us changes all of the time, whether it be political, financial, and yeah, just to kind of bear that in mind and recognize that the only person you're really in control of is yourself.
Fair enough.
Yeah. For me, I would say there's a lot. I agree with what everyone said, but for me, it's about finding your purpose and obviously a passion in what you do.
Yeah.
You know, that should always motivate you to like make an impact to it within the community.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So Naomi, how do you maintain hope in such difficult times?
I don't find these times difficult. I don't find these times any more difficult than any other times. They've been difficult for much of my time in the job that I do. So we have a job to do. I mean, we responded to a tragic gas explosion in 2022, and it was tragic. People without homes, a 4-year-old girl died, and although it was tough and it was boiling hot as well, we kind of knew what we were there to do. So I'm not sure that was hope, but it was certainly a kind of confidence that, you know, we've got a job to do and we'll do it. So there's been quite a lot of comments about, you know, these are particularly challenging times. And there's some really awful things happening, but I don't find them any more challenging than any other part of my life. And that's partly because I've dealt with a major bereavement, basically. So it's always tough, but it's not always bad.
A very bold statement I'm going to make is say we can end homelessness. And I'd ask each and every one of you.
Thank you very much.
I think every organisation has its own remit, has its own job to do. The job of my organisation isn't focused on homelessness, but I know that from listening to all of the voices over the last couple of days, that there is huge power, huge passion, and huge belief in this room. And I think with those three things, we can achieve anything we want to.
I agree.
Thank
What you do as a person and as an organisation is amazing.
Appreciate it. Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Because one of my favourite people in the world has got Down syndrome, and he is a special talent.
Appreciate it.
My answer would be yes, if we want to, if we really want to. And just briefly on housing and homelessness, we really do need to tackle the disaster that is supported housing in many cases, which is nothing short of slavery and takes advantage of some loopholes in the law, which mean that people can be not homeless but living in the most appalling conditions and under gross financial exploitation. Thank you.
Yeah, as in, I definitely think that we have the capacity to end homelessness, but it is a collective effort. I feel like every individual has a responsibility, like morally, to support in whatever way that they can. And I think collectively does not seem impossible to me in the slightest. It's just a matter of enough people working together.
Thank you.
Every civilized country in the world has no homelessness.
Yeah, for me, what I would add to that is, again, as I mentioned before, it's all about the power of the community coming together, and I believe there's lack of understanding around homelessness. So obviously, the project I run is not a homeless charity, but then again, we do educate the young people on homelessness, and we had young people in the past that's come through the doors and they've been homeless, and it's all about having the right people, the right system in place to be able to obviously to end homelessness.
It's just a label, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's
Yeah.
a label, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fair enough. So I agree with every panelist, and we've done homeless outreach and we have housing. I think that any society can do what it will. I think that every society has to settle the issue on what it thinks about people, because I think then policies follow. And so I think we're often in this quandary about who deserves and who doesn't deserve, and I think that's country to country. And so until we can iron out this practice of who we think deserves and doesn't deserve, then we'll still have that problem. But I think it's about the human will. Yep, human will. Okay, so thank you so much. I'm going to add a couple other questions as we go. So in terms of what we see as seem to be this growing hate around the world, how do you prevent from having that hate and discourse outweigh what you think or how you view and how you show up to the work?
I can give from my perspective. As we know, there's a growing hatred towards Muslims specifically. Islamophobia is growing on a national basis and on an international basis. Something within our community that's conversations regularly happening, especially being very visibly Muslim like myself. And so I think as a community for us, we've always been very true to who we are and just going back to our own values. And we've come, through an understanding that we are true to ourselves, and those that accept us will accept us, and those that don't. And the more that we are confident as to who we are, the more that we will have the strength to continue with the goodness that we do. And so I guess, in terms of for us, it's very much about just building that strength and knowing that haters will always be haters, and not wasting energy trying to convince people that there is goodness within us. And so that's something that I would say that the energy that is wasted on hating is not an energy that we would like to work towards.
Fair enough. Other thoughts?
Yeah, I would say for me, it's all about education, and again, a lot of the haters, most of them, they're hating, they don't even understand why they're hating, it's just the lack of understanding on the issues that's going on around the world, and this is what literally causing a lot of the hate. And like as I mentioned with my family story, at the time, it was people of all colors. There was not hate. Everyone came there to stand with us, and I just want to encourage, to educate parents, communities to kind of show love. So I had a meeting with the Bolton Council yesterday, and we literally working on a project to run a yearly events where it brings community together, showcasing people's culture, and I feel like that's how we can literally get rid of hate and show that England, it's a good place to be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Our approach is definitely, we started the theatre because we wanted a piece of the world the way that we wanted it. And so, yeah, just be how you want the world to be and be welcoming and call out the hate. If there anything happens, we call it out. It's, yeah.
Yep. And so, Rob, I think this is a personal one for you. As a person asking the question says, this is inspiring. Is the panel torture to Rob?
No, actually, being out there is torture. Yeah. So when I ignore you, forgive me.
So maybe the follow-up question is as a leader and a founder of an organization, does a person have to be extroverted in order to lead?
No,
No, at all. No.
I'm not.
I agree.
I think it can help, but I think being an introvert can help as well. So, yeah, there are skills we can all learn.
My mother's favourite expression is stay put, listen, and say it well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one. Good expression. Good. And so in terms of each of you, as you think about the work, two-part question. How does your person impact the work, the shaping of the work? And then what is that, how does your theory of thought play into who will succeed you?
Is that addressed at me? Because I'm 62.
I'm trailing you, believe me, I'm trailing.
I do spend a lot of time thinking about succession. It's a tricky one. I think the Commonside Trust, where I work, is very much an unruly family, which has its strengths and its weaknesses. And I think that enables us to cope with some of the challenges that we've had. As to succession, I am withdrawing from some things, and I hate it. I really hate it, but I do know that it would be much better if I can find lots of people who are younger, who come from different backgrounds, who have different experiences, who live locally, to lead that organisation. That is ultimately true, so I just have to suck that up and get on with it.
Par for the course, yes.
Yeah.
Rob, Naomi? Obviously, as a much younger man, no. I think change is incredibly difficult, isn't it? You know, change can be quite glacial. And I think we've been on a journey at GCT to change our culture and to grow up a bit as an organisation, I suppose. And I think when I step away, I think ultimately that will hopefully be a good thing for the organisation. But I think to think that it won't change is ridiculous, because this new person or people that come in will bring themselves, will bring their personality, will bring their experiences, and it's right and it should change. You know, we leave behind our origin stories, we leave behind that history, but we give somebody else the future, and I think it should be seen as a positive thing.
Yeah, for me, I believe in the power of change. And again, as an organization, we literally build young people from the get-start. So we get young people from all levels. It doesn't matter your background. And when you join the project, we have a young leadership program where we roll them up, we sign them up for that. And as part of the program, it's all about building young people for the future. So there's a quote that I said a couple of years ago: if you don't prepare young people for the future is going to be very dark. So for me right now, I'm already looking forward to the future. So the young people that's going through the program, I see them as future successes of the project. So, yeah. Yeah, so we're teaching them now, getting them ready to take over.
Fair enough.
Yeah, for me, a change I embrace. I think being able to see the change even within the organization, it's actually quite exciting for me. I actually really like the idea that somebody else is going to take this responsibility, and like how you mentioned earlier about are there moments in your life where you're like, I'm done. And I'm sure there's many times where I'm just like, oh, ideally I need someone else to take hold of this. But for me personally, when I see community and doing good work, the heart of it is, you know, as in that good, like that soul essentially. And for me, when I'm seeing it as like, in Arabic we say like amana, right? It's like a responsibility that we give to a person, and it's really ensuring that this responsibility, be it a charity or be it like goodness, you're giving it to somebody that you feel that could hold that goodness. And anyone that's a leader, when you have such a responsibility, you kind of want to get rid of it because it's weighing you down. So I'm quite happy to be like, here you go, have this responsibility and do what you would like to do with it. And I do believe like, oh, there's changes, like community is changing. So an organization can't be rigid, right? As in, as long as the values and like the backbone to what you're doing is still there, that's the main thing. And so as in, whatever people want to do with Evergreen, go and do with Evergreen. But as long as there's goodness in it, I'm happy with that.
Good, good. So then that takes me to the next question. How do you overcome the fatigue that comes with such responsibility? As a writer says, it can be exhausting, we know that. And how do you channel it to purposeful work?
I had a big burnout at the end of 2023, start of 2024, and had to sort of reassess looking after myself, and so now I'm really careful about, you know, taking care of where my mind's at, and also coming to things like this. I think sometimes we get stuck in our bubble, don't we? And we get a little bit head down just in our work, and lifting our heads up sometimes is really helpful. You see that other people are sharing similar experiences. You can share those experiences, and that's a good thing. So I think for me, those two things.
I think I'm expected to say something like, you know, I have these really great hobbies, or I'm very good at meditating, and I don't. I have started going to a Pilates class every week, which has made a huge difference. So that's a bit of me time. I don't feel like I'm chronically fatigued. I do get fed up and ground down at times. I have learnt to really appreciate just being in nature, even if it's a tiny, tiny bit of it. I do like my own company, and I don't mind telling people that now. Sorry. And I am now working part-time. As I say, I hate it. I absolutely hate it, and I am having to find other things to do with my time, but I have to do it. Thank you.
Fair enough.
You want to go?
Yeah, I'll go. So I would say last year I was very fatigued. You know, I was very overwhelmed, and at times I wanted to give up, you know. And obviously, as I mentioned, we just opened a new facility, so we spent a lot of time decorating and applying for funding, and it was just quite overwhelming. And I hardly spent any time with my own kids. So my partner gave birth the same year as well, and I really couldn't be there or give her the support that I wanted because of the project. So this year I decided to do things a little bit different. I went to the building to finish, and now I'm giving myself a bit more time, spending more time with my kids, and a bit of me time now. Like, you know, I go to the gym, I do a bit of boxing, and that kind of helps me, you know, to keep on going.
Yeah. For me, I think every founder has had some version of a nervous breakdown. I definitely had mine in 2019. And so as in being able to recognize that you could, you know, as in on what that feels like. I'm very conscious now with regards to like, as in seeing even the signs, going through like a really intense time. We're renovating the space this year. And I remember when it get to like July time, and I was like, I can see the signs of me having a nervous breakdown. I need to do what I need to do. And it's really being very aware that this is part of like the journey, especially when you're running an organization, that no one has it all together and no one's like stationary. It's like seeing the highs and lows. And when you're going towards that low, essentially like putting all the steps in place. And so I'm a Pilates girl also, I'm a gym girl also. So as in putting those things that allow like the release is definitely something that I prioritize now, so I don't have that dip, because that dip has an impact on the community, and so as in it becomes less selfish and more like actually for the better good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so.
I think I'll jump on that one. I think for me, I've learned, and COVID probably changed my entire life. I think the more I watched our staff who are essential workers leave their own family without daycare for their own kids to show the work to take care of other people's kids, or they lost an income and they're working food pantries. Like, that's who we are, and I don't think we can help it. And so I think that, to me, triggered me to recognize that it's okay to say I need something, and if it's the one thing like travel that's my passion, then I'm going to do that. And so I think figuring out a way to carve out what you need is important. I think the other part is just, I've also found a level of gratitude. You know, I grew up in public housing. I knew that I didn't have to make it out, and so just reminding myself, no matter where you go, it didn't have to be you. And so it then keeps you in the purpose set of the game. I think we're down to the last question, which is, I think I lost track of that question. So I'll let you close with any last thoughts you'd like to share in closing. We'll start down on your side.
Apologies to everybody I ignored. And thanks for all of the people that have shared their stories. You know, I will take away and travel home brimming with ideas, with energy, and for that I thank all of you. Thanks.
Look them in the eye, command respect. That's it.
I don't really have anything. Gonna go.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone for listening, and I hope everyone took something from this. I want you to go back to your communities and be the change, and let's push love and not hate.
Yeah. I'll just say that, as in, even if we didn't get a chance to speak to each other, the energy in the room, like preserving that energy and allowing that energy to kind of like travel to your car or to the train, and trying to preserve it as much as possible is something that I personally will be doing, because inspiration is essentially energy, and energy is like what's going to push us to do the greatness that we do going forward.
Okay, so we are at the end of our session, and so I'll close before handing it over to Tony, just to say to each of you, thank you for all that you do every day. Whether we feel big or small in the world, we are a huge part of what makes society work. And so it's because of everything you do each day, regardless of to the earlier point, regardless of the politician who looks at us small, or the person in business who feels like we're not performing the way private industry will. Recognize that what you do each and every day is critical to the lives of people. We have to remind the world that this is about people. And so what you do every day is about people and society. And if not for us, where would we be? So thank you so much as we close.